Okay, welcome back. Today we're going to be working on about hashes. So I'm going to open that up. If I can look over here, they're all in alphabetical order. So H-I-J, about hashes, H, hashes. Here we go. Cool. So now let's look at this. So hashes, test creating hashes. So empty is equal to hash.new. So if we go back over to our REPL, and so to get into your REPL, if you haven't done it, IRB, you can go hash.new. Cool, that gets us that. It's very similar to, is that equal to just creating a new hash? Cool, it is. So we can make hashes just like this, and they'll have like, you know, hello world. These, interesting, okay. Maybe they can't hold symbols? An array can hold symbols, but a hash can't. Interesting, that's weird. So what happens with our empty hash? So we can save our empty hash as an empty hash. What happens if we go empty hash dot class? It's going to be a hash. Cool. So we're learning something new, right? Hash. This is the first time we've seen this. Empty hash assert equal empty hash. Okay, and we want to make it so I think that they're just saying that we can do it like this. We could say empty hash is equal to an empty hash. And that's true. We could also say hash.new is equal to empty hash. That's true as well. So we could either say hash.new, or we could just say empty brackets like this. And empty hash.size. Can you even do .size to that? Cool, so it'll give us that. And what happens if we were to throw in a string in there? Hello.size. Interesting. Oh, okay. So with hashes, we need to enumerate them with key value pairs, right? So cool. So now our hash has one value in it. Well, how would we make a hash with two values in it? We could say name, useful programmer. And now our hash has a size of 2. So when we're making hashes, they need to have key value pairs like that. And so that's the cool thing about hashes. Cool. So empty hash.size is going to be 0 because an empty hash is going to have a size of 0. We already did that up here. Cool. Test hash literal. So here what we're doing, they've got a symbol and they've set it to uno and then to dos as well. So here hash.size, well, it's got 1, 2 values in it, so we're going to have a value of 2. Cool. This is older Ruby, I'm pretty sure. So now if we go hash, it renders out to that, right? Another way we could do it is say hash is equal to, and this is just different syntax, but it's the exact same thing. You can say 1, uno, and then you can also say 2, dos. So yeah, and you see it renders out the exact same inside. So nowadays when I'm doing Ruby programming, I always do it this way because it's cleaner. You don't have to do equals sign, arrow sign like that. So, but you'll see it works the same under the hood. So yeah, hope that's helpful. So what's at position 1? If we go hash at position 1, that's uno. So what does it do? It goes into here, it grabs the hash, and then it says at whatever this value is. So we use the symbol of 1. Well, the symbol of 1 will render out to uno. So here, this will just be uno. And then the hash at position 2, which is going to render out to dos. And then hash at doesn't exist, I'm guessing nil. What do you think? Nil. Cool. So we can just add nil in here. We'll save that. And I'm just going to scroll down. Test accessing hashes with fetch. So hash is equal to 1. Hash assert equal. Well, let's set our hash variable to be equal to that. And then so what happens if we go fetch 1? Hash dot fetch 1. So that tells us that we can use fetch instead of I think, you know, hash at uno 1. So that works the same. So fetch works the same as just putting it in an array. So this is going to be rendered out to uno. Assert raise. So if we say hash.fetch doesn't exist, I think that that's going to be a nil error. A key error. Interesting. You don't see key errors very often in practice. So we want to assert that the key error is raised when we fetch a object which doesn't exist in a hash. So key error is what we're looking for there. Think about it. Why might you want to use fetch instead of the brackets when accessing hashes? So why would you want to use fetch rather than something that doesn't work? Well, if you're trying to use data and you want your program to cause an error if it's not working the way you expect it to, because you should never try to actually access an object which doesn't exist, right? So sometimes if you want to create an error, you can use fetch when you're doing that. So for some reason you might want to cause your program to have an error if it's not working the way, or sometimes you might want to just have it render out to nil if it doesn't exist. Cool. So let's test changing hashes. So here our hash 1 is equal to uno and dos with 2 key value pairs, 1 and 2 with the values of uno and dos. And then we're saying hash at position 1 is eins, which I think is 1 in German. So expected 1 is equal to, we want to say this is going to be eins. So expected. And so now we're going to say our hash is equal to expected. Let's see if that works out. So here we've got our hash, and then what happens? What we're doing is we're going to say whatever is at the value of 1, we're going to change that. We're going to set that equal to eins rather than that. So now if we say hash, we're going to see 1 is eins and 2 is dos. 1 is eins, 2 is dos. So that was the expected. So now if we go hash, and yeah, our expected is set to here. So expected equal to hash. True. Cool. So bonus question, why was expected broken out into a variable rather than used as a literal? Okay, expected broken into a variable. So we set the variable equal rather than the literal. My guess is that, I don't know. Why would they do that? Because if you did it like that and then you set hash at position 0, you could make, the hash is there, 1 is eins. Well, I guess they wanted to just show that expected is like equal to that. Expected is equal to hash. Why was it important to do that? I guess it's because it makes it so that they were able to test it. So anyways, not exactly sure. Test hash is unordered. So hash 1 and 2. So here you've got 1 is uno and 2, the symbol of 2 is equal to dos. On the second hash, hash number 2, 2 is equal to dos. So here 2 is dos and here 2 is dos. And then here 1 is uno and 1 is uno. So what do you think? Are these going to be equal? My guess is that they are, because it doesn't matter what order hashes are in. They're non-enumerated, whereas an array is enumerated. If we were to go array 1 is equal to, maybe we do hashes in there, uno, and then dos. Array 2 is equal to dos uno. We're going to see that array 1 is equal to, I made a typo here, but it doesn't matter for this purposes. I'm just trying to show this is going to be false because they're enumerated, whereas hashes are not enumerated. So I got the hash 1 and hash 2 in there. Hash 1 is equal to hash 2. Hash 2, we see that that's true. So it doesn't matter whether they are equal or not. So hash 1 is equal to hash 2, that is true, and we're asserting equal true and this value. So yeah, test hash keys. Hash 1 and 2, dos. The keys.size, this is going to be 2, right? So let's save our hash in here. If we go hash.keys, that gives us an array with the keys in it, right? And so we know once we do arrays.size, we're going to get 2, right? Because there's 2 keys in here. So hash.keys returns an array of the keys. Hash.keys.include 1. So this is cool. Hash.keys, we know that prints out to here. So if we go the keys and we say dot include, does it include a symbol of 1? That's going to be true, right? Because it does have 1 in there. So that's a cool thing. We can use this include method. So we're going to say true. Hash.keys include 2. Yeah, it's in there as well. So we can say true here. Hash.keys.class. So what do you think the hash.keys is going to be? right? It's an array. We can see, we've seen that before. So hash.keys.class is equal to an array. And so we can put array in here. Cool. All right, so now let's move on to test hash values. If we do our hash is equal to 1 and 2, well, hash.values. So what happens if we go hash.values? That gives us an array of the values, so 1 and 2. So very similar to here. So we can do hash.keys or we can do hash.values, and we can use those. So what's the values of the size of 2? Do they include uno and dos? Yes, they include both of those. And then hash.values.class, well, when we look over here, we see that that was an array as well, hash.values.class. So that's the array. Awesome. Okay, so let's test combining hashes. So here we have a hash and our new hash. Our new hash is going to be hash.merge. And so we're going to add Jim and Jenny. Okay, so Jim is in here twice. So if we merge them, is Jim going to be in here twice, or is it going to go from 53 to 54? I'm thinking that it's going to update the existing key value pair. So it's going to recognize that Jim was there, and it's going to make this number 4. So it's going to say 54, and it's also going to add Jenny on at the end. So assert equal, hash is not equal to the new hash. Well, the original hash is just this, so it's going to be totally different. So are they not equal? Yeah, they're not equal. So we want to be expected. So Jim is going to be 54, because that's going to be updated, right? And Jenny, who was not existing there initially, is going to be set to 26. And so now if we assert equal, the expected and the new hash, expected and the new hash. I'm guessing that this is true because they are. So yeah, let's see what happens if we run it out there. So we do the hash and we do the new hash. That, here we go, 54 and Jenny 26. So that's in there. So yeah, so our expected and our new hash are going to be false. Expected is equal to new hash. Test combining hashes. Expected to new hash. Expected. Huh. Maybe I didn't save it. Yeah. Oh yeah, our expected. So we need to save it right there. So I was just pulling the data from our last one. So now is our expected and new hash true? Cool. Let's keep moving on. Test default values. Hash 1, hash new. Hash at position 1 is, and then so here what we're doing is setting a new empty hash for hash 1. And now what we're doing is saying we can apply at the value of 1 the key the key of the symbol of 1 is going to be equal to 1. And so now hash 1 is a hash with 1 value in it. So hash 1 here, we're going to say that's going to be 1. Hash 1 at position 2 is going to be nil, right? Because there is nothing at position 2. So it renders out to nil. So hash 2 is equal to a hash.new with dos in there. Okay, cool. This is the first time we've seen when we create a new object, we're passing in parameters of dos. So now we'll call this one hash 2, right? Hash 2. Wow, look at that. It's an empty object, but my guess is that there's something in there. Okay, so for hash 2, let's add to the value of 2, hash 2. You'll see that there's 1 in there, just like hash 1. But yeah, man, that's crazy. So hash 2 at position 2 is dos. Wow, so it got saved in there. So when we add it to there, hash 2 at position 2, that's crazy. Why does it do that? Huh, crazy. Well, we know it's position, hash 2 at position 1 is going to be 1, right? Hash 2 at position 1, we already set it equal to 1 up here, so it's going to render out to 1. So it's crazy. When you pass in a parameter, it becomes the second. Maybe it just automatically declares it as the second one there. I wonder if we did hash 2 and then trace, because that's Spanish for third. Wrong number of expected values. It doesn't even take a third one. So yeah, test default value. I guess this is just the default value. Yeah, I've never really seen that before. So test default value is the same as the object. So hash is equal to hash new with an array passed in as the value. What happens if we go hash at position 1? It renders out to an empty array. But then if we go hash 1, whoa, crazy. We can add values to that. So here they're saying hash at position 1, and we're going to shovel in or push, add to the array. It's an empty array, so now we're just going to add in uno. And then hash 2 is dos. Crazy. Hash. So the hash is empty, but it has saved within it this sort of parameterized. Default values are the same. Hash at position 1. I mean, here that should be 0, right? Huh. Okay, so it's default values. We've shoved these in there, but it's at position 2. That's so crazy. What is it at hash 2? Uno dos. Uno dos. Crazy. What about hash 3? Oh, you know what? So this could be, this is just anything. So whenever you just, so this is, all we're doing is saving the default value. Whatever default values we're saving to it. Okay, so the empty array becomes our default value. And so whenever we just name a hash thing that's not there, so our hash could have something on there. So hash merge, maybe just an empty hash, right? Because we did merge up here. Hash.merge, and then say, we'll throw in here, hello world. So now our hash has, we need to say hash.merge, and we need to set our hash equal to that. So hash has these values. So our hash could have a value of hello. Our hash at hello, that renders out to hello, but our hash at random non-existent value title is going to be whatever the default values are. So the default value, so this returns no matter what, or the default value gets returned, and we can mess with the default value and it's saved in there. So we can set it as an array. Up here, the default value is set to something else. Cool. So yeah, hash at 1, this is going to be, hash at position 1, uno dos. So the default value is just going to be there the whole time. So yeah, it's always just going to be and uno. I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah. So hash at position 1.objectID and hash at position 2.objectID. So is the object ID the same? I'm guessing that it is, because it's passing back the same thing. The object ID doesn't change. And so we see that the position object ID at hash at position 1 is, we're just passing back this array. And this array has a object ID of that. So we want to assert equal. Are those equal? Yes. This object ID is the same as this, so this renders out to true, and so we're saying true. So we want to test default value with the block. Cool, so hash is equal to hash.new, and now we're passing in block. So this is the first time we've seen the blocks. And so, yeah, so our new is equal to a hash and a key. Interesting. I don't even see this very often. So let's see. Let's do a hash here. So our hash is there, but what happens if we hash? If we do some default value, some non-existent value, it gives us an empty array. So what happens if we pass this in here? And so now if we go hash some non-existent value, we still get an empty array. Huh. What happens if we go hash.dos? So here on uno we pushed it in. What happens if we go hash at 1? Okay, so here's what's happening. So we're passing this in here, and what it's doing is saving itself with the key from the value that's being passed in, I guess. Man, this is crazy. Hash at position 1. So yeah, this is going to be uno. This is going to be an array with a string inside of it of uno. This is going to be an array with a string inside of it, dos. And then what's it going to be hash.3? My guess is that it's going to be an empty array. Huh. Well, that is enlightening. Well, let's save our work and see how it worked out. So I'm going to save about hashes here after we've gone through here. And I'm just going to go rake. And we see now we're moving on to about strings. So that means that we've completed all of these, the hash values. So this is complete. And now we're just getting an error on a different file. So that's good news. We've got all these correct. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see you in the next lesson.